European nations are increasing their involvement in the Indo-Pacific. Now, a French aircraft carrier strike group has set sail for exercises there with Japan and the United States. This comes as China also steps up its maritime activities in the area. The strike group is led by the nuclear-powered aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle. It departed from a base in the southern city of Toulon. It's more than 260 meters long and carries up to 40 aircraft. The French Navy says the group has about 3,000 personnel. It includes 3 air defense frigates and 1 nuclear-powered attack submarine. The group is expected to join other units, including those from Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force and the U.S. Navy. They'll conduct exercises together in the Pacific and Indian Oceans near Indonesia.
We see that the routine use of force leads to instability. The solution lies in dialogue and in the maintenance of the status quo and of freedom of navigation.
Earlier this year, the German, Spanish, and French air forces took part in a joint drill in the Pacific region. That was followed in August by a port call in Japan by an Italian aircraft carrier. Earlier this week, G7 foreign ministers held talks in Italy. They agreed to continue working together in tackling issues in the Indo-Pacific that they acknowledge as shared concerns. They issued a joint statement expressing strong concern about China's maritime expansion and militarization in the East and South China Seas. They said that they reiterate their strong opposition to any unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force or coercion. They also expressed deep concern over what they described as China's increasing use of dangerous maneuvers and water cannons against vessels from the Philippines and Vietnam. Leaders from the Indo-Pacific countries, including India, the Philippines, Indonesia, and South Korea, were invited to the meeting. A maritime security expert points out that given the current global situation, Europe is increasingly prioritizing cooperation with the region.
There was Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and the coordination between China and Russia has become quite clear. In that sense, Russia, which is putting pressure on Europe, and China, which is putting pressure on Asia, are working together. I think we can see that the relationship between Europe and Asia-Pacific is becoming closer in terms of security. I think this statement reflects a sense of crisis that China, which is regarded as a power that wants to change the status quo by force, is trying to do so, especially in the seas.
Shoji also notes that while Southeast Asian countries differ in their approaches toward China, the prevailing trend is to strike a balance between security and economic considerations.
I have an impression that clashes between the Philippines and China are conspicuous. As of now, China has much fewer clashes in other countries compared with the Philippines, and tensions with them are relatively low. I think that the Chinese are trying to manage the situation with other countries. Indonesia is also trying to strike a balance between the merits and demerits of having relations with China, and places more importance on economic cooperation because China is a very important economic partner.
Regarding U.S. involvement in the Indo-Pacific following President-elect Trump's inauguration, Shoji describes it as unpredictable. So G7 and friendly nations are now working hard to discourage a significant policy shift from the White House.
I don't think President-elect Trump himself has much interest in ASEAN framework itself. That's why we need to think about how to deal with the United States. The United States, the Philippines, Japan, Australia, and European countries have accumulated a lot of achievements in security coordination, which has been seen from time to time based on the alliance with the United States. If there is a situation where such security cooperation is becoming conventional, I think we can expect continuity of the coordination, even if the top leader's mind or the top leader itself changes.